Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. So, yeah, don't really have a lot of preamble to go for this one. Got 5 albums to go through. Let's just go through the albums, I guess. We begin fairly early, I know. We begin in Melbourne, Florida, not Australia, Florida, for Body Snatcher and their 4th album, Bleed a Bite. They're a deathcore group from Melbourne in Florida. And this is my first album by them, and I've heard my fair share of good death-leaning metal genre style music album things earlier in the year. This one is just really cookie cutter and bog standard C. It's a C grade. I just didn't really feel either way. I didn't exactly hate it for what it did, and it's got decent chops, but it's just the standard modern day deathcore album, doesn't really go to a lot of places, really blurs and blends a lot. Nothing to really hate about it. I mean, for deathcore it does a decent job, but it's just not exciting, doesn't really exactly fill me with all the joy and all the happy, which is not something deathcore is supposed to do, but yeah, it's generic from pretty much every standpoint I can think of. The performances are probably the least egregious thing about it, but even that, sometimes the band members do phone it in a bit. Structurally wise, it is a bit repetitive. Lyrically wise, it is a bit nothing you haven't heard before from deathcore. Well, they do try a little bit with some more relationship-based stuff that just doesn't work. I don't know. I feel like they're a band that take themselves a little bit too seriously. I might listen to their next one, but yeah, hopefully I will have built up a tolerance for them by then. Next we go to Wichita Falls, Texas for Bowling for Soup and their 11th album, Pop Drunk Snotbread, which is one of the funniest album names ever, because for those who don't get the joke, it's a play on the phrase pop punk's not dead, and they're a pop punk band, you see. Yeah, very clever, I know. I can't lie, while Body Snatcher's album did not give me much of the joy and happiness, Bowling for Soup's album really did. It's their first album in 6 years, and giving this one the highest grade in the episode, by the way, an A. I loved everything about this album. I've always enjoyed Bowling for Soup's particular brand because I've never fully even considered them a comedy band. They do have really funny moments, but I've always just considered them a fun band, you just want to take a load out of your day and you just want to calm down and chill and just smile to yourself like an idiot. And Bowling for Soup are the kings of making you smile to yourself like an idiot. They've got one of my favourite songs ever is I'm Gay by them, and it's one of my favourite songs ever. I just said that, but I don't care. And so many amazing songs in this one. Lyrically, it does still handle their usual topics with that sort of tongue-in-cheek, sort of even a bit more dad humor now, considering that Jared's 50, nearly 50. It's got some pretty good, solid riffs. It's just a fun time, It's about everything you expect. New bassist Rob, he fits in quite well, The band members all still staying great, and I love the fact that there's actual P-break songs by a bad Morgan Freeman impersonator, so I will take that where I can get it. It's not like they're actual songs, but it's just narration by a bad Morgan Freeman impersonator. I've got to love little details like that, and this album is absolutely phenomenal, more than just from a fun standpoint. It's just really great, so check it out. Next we go to Sydney, New South Wales in Australia for Northlane and their 6th album, Obsidian. Now this is my 2nd album by Northlane, and their last one did have a bit more experimentation. However, this one's a bit more unique because it's their first through their own record label named Believe Records, and it was produced by one of the band members. And I don't remember what grade I gave their last one, but I know I graded it something. Maybe a B-ish. This one gets a B- because I think it's getting a little bit too much flack from critics. It has gotten more mixed response, and I know B- is just above a mixed response, but it's got some really good moments. I like the experimentation that's tried with it. There's really nice processing on the vocal techniques for the most part. But the problem is that it's a bit of a long album at 56 minutes. Hang on, let me make sure I've got that right. Yeah, it's the longest album of the weekend, and it does drag its feet from time to time. It doesn't really find the experimentation does help it, but it doesn't really have a lot to go against to sort of balance it out. And I think the experimentation is the main thing carrying it. The performances are still pretty solid. The lead singer has got a pretty decent vocal. He's got a decent clean vocal to him, and I like that he focuses more on the clean vocals, although he's got a good scream too. I don't know. There was more good moments on this album than I think people are giving it credit for, and I do like their more sort of daring edge with it. There were a couple of moments that could have been improved, but for their first album, which was self-produced and self-put out on their own label, and for trying so many new things, which is something I should have expected considering that their last album, Alien, also had a lot of new things, I didn't hate it, so it does have a fair few highlights to it, and I would still recommend giving it a try. Next, we're staying in Australia, specifically Melbourne and Victoria, for Ocean Grove and their third album, Up in the Air Forever. So, I covered these guys' last album as well, titled Flip Phone Fantasy, which has one of my favourite album titles because I do like a good bit of alliteration, me. And yeah, I really like that one. This one, no different, A-. Really super duper enjoyed this. It's a bit more experimental from them, which is saying something, and to date, the only album I haven't listened to by them is their debut, which I think was seen as more nu metal-y. Obviously, the only albums I've listened to by them are Up in the Air Forever, obviously, and Flip Phone Fantasy, and I didn't really get much of a nu metal vibe. I just got more of a punk vibe, and a really fun punk vibe. By the way, speaking of fun punk vibes, my favourite song on this album is Bored, which features the fucking Dune Rats, and that's such a good song. But yeah, the album itself is pretty solid. Even though it's got only 3 band members on it, they all really pull their weight. Especially, there's some really fun moments with the structuring as well. It does sort of peter out near the end with the structuring because it does sort of fall back into a bit of a typical pop punk structuring, well, more punk rocky structuring, but it still works, and the experimentation that they try early on is still carried on through well enough. And obviously the band are fucking great. Ocean Grove are a really, really fun band to listen to. Much like Bowling for Soup, they just really give you a fun vibe, and that's all I'm after. So I will take it. Really good job, Ocean Grove. Can't wait for the next one. And by the way, I realised I forgot to mention Northlane's genre, which is metalcore, so I'll just bring that up now before I move on to the final album, so let's do that. And finally we go to, of all places, Walsall, West Midlands, England, the part of England where I was born, for Stone Broken and their third album, Revelation. This is their first album in 4 years. These are a more sort of traditional hard rock group, and they've got the charisma to really pull it off. I enjoyed this album. I'm giving it a B. Really fun moments to it. It does have a bit of a structuring problem. I think a couple of the songs do drag on a little bit long, but the band themselves are really solid performers. The lead guitarist, whose name I shouldn't have forgotten because it's Chris Davis, which is a relatively easy name to remember. He's pretty good. Lead singer Rich Moss is pretty good. The drummer Robin Haycock is pretty good. And bassist Kieran Conroy is pretty good. All the band is pretty good. All this album is pretty good. It does sort of slip into the occasional dundra on occasion. The occasional thing on occasion, yeah. But it's still got really good rock hooks to it, and it is a bit of a blast to listen to. It's got some really good charisma, and the band really know how to build themselves up. And I am looking forward to seeing what they do next. I hope it's not until I hope that we don't have to wait until 2026 to get it. But you know what? Pretty solid stuff from my hometown, lads and lass in the drummer's case. That'll about do it for this episode. I will see you probably tomorrow night for the draft for 2K22 Saturday at the absolute latest. I'm still waiting on one friend of mine to get a creative wrestler made for me, and they have to do the moveset, and I don't blame them for taking time because the moveset sorting out 2K22 is a pain in the ass. I've been there 2 times already. I've still got to do it from a third man in Caesar Stone, but that's besides the point. As for what's next from me besides that, tonight I'm going to put up the Full Throttle Let's Play. I'm going to make it public, because I haven't done that yet, and I meant to do it all this week, and I haven't, and then hopefully tomorrow you'll get the draft, and hopefully on Saturday I can start my next Let's Play, which will be Day of the Tentacle, and then Sunday maybe Fire the Night review, if there's one to talk about. So that'll be it. As always, thank you for watching, you're awesome, bye bye.